appearances. You may appear to be feminine, but do you move with femininity? Do you engage with people with femininity? Because there are girls going to, actually most girls who go to Pilates I think are quite feminine, because Pilates is an interesting thing. I do it myself as well. It's an exercise that's actually lengthening. It's a lengthening type of exercise. It lengthens the muscle as opposed to doing weights where you're actually bulking the muscle.
Yes.
And lengthening is actually a feminine movement, I would say, or a feminine form, because it's long, you know, and femininity is supposed to be slow and long and considered and thought through. And I think that's why Pilates feeds so well into femininity, because it's a lengthening process. It's a long process. It's similar to ballet. Ballet is also slow movement. It allows women to slow down. And so testing, 1, 2, 3.
I'm going to keep that. Hi, girlies. Welcome to Pretty Serious Conversations. I'm your host, Bongiwe Dlamini, a.k.a. Grace Girly. And today I have a good friend who I met in a program called Young African Leadership Initiative. Ooh, that's a long word. And short for YALI, a mouthful. And today we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic. We are going to be talking about how you set your standards, and sometimes what determines if you reach your standards are the flaws that you fall to. And if you are able to navigate the flaws, you will definitely reach your standards. So I have Zoe Mabi, and she is a tech woman. When you say tech, I'm talking about Google. And she will obviously introduce herself and give us more information. How are you, Zoe?
Morning, Bongi. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited.
We're here bright and early,
Yes.
9 a.m., 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So good as can be.
As good, right? I'm glad you made it, because I was like, oh my goodness, people are busy.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you are busy.
Hey, our Saturdays and Sundays are sacred.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to be here, and I think it's for a great cause.
Yeah.
So very happy to be sharing this time with you.
Excellent. Well, we can then get into, who is Zoe? I spoke about a tech woman and Google. And obviously people get very interested when you say Google. They've never firstly met, I think, a black woman that's, working in a big international tech company.
Right.
And at the moment you are an industry manager as well, right?
Yes.
Please give us just an intro of who Zoe is, and maybe then you can go a bit deeper into the technicalities of what it takes to be in Google as an industry manager.
Of course. Well, I'd like to then start, because of that question, with that Zoe is actually at the heart of things, an artist and an athlete.
Oh, yes.
And somewhere along my education, I studied clinical psychology, which took me into the world of business. But when I was a young girl, I certainly didn't dream of being in the heart of business and revenue and driving the operations of a business. I was painting, writing stories, directing plays, playing the guitar with my father. So very much into the arts still. So I am passionate about the arts, love athletics and anything sports-like, because I was an athlete. I was a sprinter when I was a young girl. But now I find myself in the tech industry. And I've been in the tech industry for about 6.5 years now. And it is a demanding industry. And when I talk about that, I mean, I was at Meta previously and I'm at Google now, and the two businesses have a combined market cap of about 6.3 trillion US dollars, and or 5.3, somewhere there. And Google has a market cap of 3.6. And when you talk about companies that have market caps of $1 trillion and above, you're talking about businesses that obviously are, on the stock market, have really healthy share prices. And because of that, they need to be very competitive to keep their share price healthy and to keep the market happy, because they're then vulnerable to all of this market volatility. So what does it mean then when you're trying to keep a market happy in a volatile space? Well, it means you have to be incredibly innovative. It means you have to be incredibly efficient, and it means you have to have global reach. And so in order to be innovative and efficient, you have to make a lot of decisions that affect your employees to make sure that you're efficient. Because when you're $1 trillion company, you've got capex in the billions, like close to 200 US billion in capex. And to do that, it means that you've got to drive efficiency. And that usually impacts your employees. And so employees often come under heavy or intense high-stakes environments because they have to perform. In order to be efficient as a business, you're going to do a lot of layoffs. And you're going to cut down costs, which means your comp packages are going down. And so comp packages is determined by what? Performance. And so performance structures are changed. It's harder to get promoted. It's harder to get a raise. And so all of these things are the factors that create the environment, let alone driving, revenue. But these are the factors that create the environment that you're working in. And then, of course, you have the responsibility of doing your core role and your core job, which is to lead an industry, and that's what I do at Google. So I take care of the telco industry at Google, and basically what I do there is I help my customers, or I empower my customers through our solutions and our products to make a difference and reach their customers and audiences online and on our Google platforms. So it's a great job in that we have a lot of enterprise solutions at Google. And those enterprise solutions ultimately help these businesses grow, right? And there are some really special businesses in the world, small, medium, large, that are making huge differences in people's lives. And I get to be a part of the way in which these businesses touch every human on the continent and on the planet. So that's how the job is rewarding. But that's also how the job is very demanding, and that's also how the stakes are really high.
Sure.
Was that a mouthful?
No, it wasn't.
Okay,
we needed all of that.
Okay, good.
Because it broke it down so well.
Okay.
I think, like for me, for instance, I know about tech in the sense that I know Google because I use Google.
Yeah.
But anything else behind the scenes that happens, I wouldn't tell you. You know what I mean? I didn't even know that in South Africa we have, a Google where people can work. And then obviously you travel the world, and we'll get to that a bit later. But you can travel, you can help, businesses. I think what you're doing is incredible, because in this era that we live in, if your company is not on Google, or I think it's SOE, right? Like search engine optimization. And
so there's that, and then there's Google Ads, and then there's cloud services. So there's a whole lot of enterprise solutions that help, but I'm on the Google Ads side, and that is paid media, which helps businesses reach their customers.
So you are definitely using your marketing expertise
Absolutely.
as well as your psychology, actually.
Absolutely, right, because my main customers are marketers.
Yes.
My customer is your chief marketing officer and your CEO of a business. Those are the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. And we, because of our product, are literally able to show the business their ROAS, their return on ad spend, and their ROI through performance levers and performance products that we have within the Google Ads platform and the Google Ads suite. So our products and our solutions directly impact the ROI and the ROAS of a business.
Yeah, sure. No, you're a big girl. Like in corporate.
This life of adulting, I mean, the other day I was in the car listening to like an old, I don't know if it's trap, I think it was like a trap song, and I was just grooving and dancing. And I actually asked myself, am I still allowed to dance like this? Am I still allowed to move like this? But sometimes the seriousness of work and business, we shouldn't let it take us away from the youthful side of us, that's for sure.
Before we get to the topic, that's one thing I think that made me fall in love with you when I met you. I saw, so in class, right, during the seminars, I saw this serious young lady, who would answer questions, well prepared, and very informed, you knew certain things, like, and obviously that's why we are all in that classroom, right? It's to give information to each other and exchange and just learn from each other. And I thought, okay, it ends there. And then when we went for dinner, I saw this girl dancing and having the time of her life, and it was like we are no longer in class, right? And you could do the balance so well, where you could have fun, and I have videos that I know I can't post.
We can't. We've been banned from
yeah,
posting.
because I'm like, oh, we were having so much fun, and this is so sacred.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm willing to post on the socials. It's just for us, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But then at the same time, as you say, you know, you're dealing with your C-suite. People who are very serious. People who are results-driven, outcome-driven. They want you to know your work. They need you to understand and give them things that they don't know, you know? And so I really liked that about you. And I was like, I have to have her on the podcast because young women need to know that you can be both. You definitely can be killing it in corporate, doing your job, showing up, performing. And also then when you're outside, forget that you even have a job and just have an amazing time with your friends and your family, you know. And that's what I emphasize, for instance, when I'm out with people. I'd be like, it's a weekend. I don't talk about work. You know, yes, I love what I do. It's within my calling. But when I'm with people, when I'm with family, I want to focus on those experiences. I want to focus on the life part, you know.
And I like what you're saying because the way that you're saying it, you can show that it takes intention. You're intentional about it.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it takes. It takes intention. You do have to take a moment to sit with yourself and decide what it is that you're going to prioritize.
Yes.
Decide who it is that you're going to be when you show up to these places like our seminars. You need to have a pep talk with yourself. You know, like if I didn't have a conversation with myself in the car driving there to say, yes, we're gonna double down on the content work. We're gonna show up, be present, but we're also gonna make friends and we're also gonna have fun and we're also going to make memories in this space. But it's also about pivoting in the moment because I think when we got there, none of us realized what the evenings would look like or become, right? But because the energy was what it was and the people who are who they are, you do find yourself, you know, having that self-talk and pivoting to say, these are people that I want to make memories with. And so to do that, I need to show up and be my full self. And be authentic.
So true. You speak about intention and setting the intention. That leads us into my next question, which is actually about the topic now.
We're finally there.
Finally there. So it takes intention to sit and think about your life as a young lady and say, this is what I dream of becoming and this is what I want to be. What I find most of the time, especially with some of the young girls that I coach, is that they will have a goal or they'll have obviously their picture on the vision board of what they want, which is the outcome. And then the steps to get there, they either, if they fuss about the steps of getting there, it consumes their whole life. Where the person can't see beyond, you know, that step to say, okay, this step is taking me to the outcome. It might not look that way right now, but it's taking me there. Or you find those that don't care about the process, you know, and the steps, and they're like, I'll get there. I don't know how, but I'll get there. And there's no intention of now, okay, I need to build capacity. Let me go back to school and do, for instance, you did your MBA at the University of Warwick, you know, which is, I know we were celebrating and it was like, well done. I'm still saying well done.
Thank you.
Because an MBA is the toughest thing you could do, especially when you're working as well. So you didn't take a gap year. You were working.
Absolutely.
So it's tough. It messes up your sleeping patterns. But the nice thing about it is it teaches you how far you can stretch yourself. So now you know your capability as Zoe, right? So you find young girls that have this outcome that they want and they'll post it on their vision board and there's this gap between their identity of where they are currently, where they're trying to get, and the gap is an unknown for them.
For sure.
Now, in that gap, most of the time to get to that pinnacle or to that person that you're trying to be, which is the standard, right? There's going to be some things that happen, some setbacks, and those are the flaws that I talk about, right? The setback could be financial. It could be a financial setback. It could be an emotional setback where you trusted a friend and the friend now, you know, betrays you or something like that, you know. It could be even economic instability, something that you don't even have, you can't control. Like, for instance, what's happening currently, right? And the expected oil prices going up and all those things. Now, for you, how would you advise someone to deal with those setbacks? I can imagine you've had a few, as you are growing up, and there's certain things that you probably wanted, maybe at Meta, maybe now at Google, and you didn't reach those things.
Yeah.
And it was a setback. But how did you then spring back up? And how did you not allow those setbacks to be, a floor where you lie there, down there, and you can't get up?
Yeah. I love the word that you used earlier, which is capacity. And that's definitely something you need to build and find within yourself, is capacity. And how you do that can also be through infrastructure. And I know a lot of people might not have infrastructure when I immediately say the word, but infrastructure can mean different things. And one of it could be, a support system, family, friends, therapists, that support structure that reminds you of who you are when the lows are low.
Yes.
Another thing that I can refer to as infrastructure is a bucket of wins that you can keep as close as the notes in your phone.
Yes.
And those wins you can always reflect on and go to if you're feeling like, wow, I'm hitting a wall, or this was not the setback that I expected, to your point. And sometimes this can lead to you feeling like you don't maybe belong in this space, or you shouldn't be doing this space. If you go back to that bucket of wins that you've stored on your notebook, in your phone, you start remembering who you are as a human being, what you're capable of, the capacity that you have. And that can be a source of strength for you. So I think finding sources of strength in places is incredibly important. And I talk about this word fortification, which is, building and strengthening yourself, finding capacity within yourself, but it comes from sources both internal and external, and fortification or building capacity and strength within self can even be spiritual, if it's Christianity that you look to, there are proverbs and verses of struggle and setbacks that can inspire you to then, pick yourself up and go. If you've got a therapist, if you're lucky enough to have one, going to see that therapist, touching base with them, and letting that therapist, if you've spent enough time with them, remind you of the things that you've been able to achieve and accomplish, and speaking to friends and family who've known you for years. And if you don't have those things, then a third thing I would say in your toolbox of infrastructure is the art of reframing. And that's another thing that I would say is a capacity that you need to build within yourself, is how do you reframe a situation in such a way that it has a positive outlook for you? Yes. Like, yes, this means a year away from school. This is taking longer than what I thought it would take. Okay, what does this mean? It means that I can then build up the strength, focus on work. Work is getting very demanding right now. They're doing layoffs. Let me double down on the work that I need to do so that I can get the right performance rating that's going to keep me in this job, so that I can unlock the shares that I'm entitled to, so that I can pay for my school. Yes. I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. So reframing these things helps you find yourself again. It helps you ground yourself, and it helps you create direction for you to say, okay, cool, this is positive for me because X, Y, and Z. And if you start reframing it in such a way, you'll find that you'll build the resilience required to push through those setbacks.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, we can talk about this for days, but I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you. I like what you're saying about having a bucket of wins. Mm-hmm. And I think I myself don't have that. So you're giving me gems as well,
Yeah. It's so useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
So it reminds me of how people would say, or therapists as well, would say, just have a book, could be a journal or whatever, where you write down your wins for the day, each day, and say, or even your gratitude, right? A gratitude journal to say, this is what I'm grateful for, because it reminds you of the good things and the positive things that are happening, instead of you recycling the bad things over and over again.
Exactly.
And when you say that, I'm just thinking of the more you see these things on your phone close by, it's similar to how when you say affirmations in the morning, for instance, in the mirror, and just, it just reminds you of what you are and can be, and not necessarily what the circumstances are saying or telling you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I use my wallpaper on my phone as a reminder tool as well, because I mean, to your point, the world can get so noisy. It's okay to have different tools available to you to ground yourself. So my wallpaper, it's there whenever you unlock your phone. Whatever I'm going through, I mean, there was a point where the Serenity Prayer was really important for me.
Sure.
I use that as my wallpaper, you know, and it just keeps you in the right mindset.
Yes.
That helps you sustain or build and sustain resilience so that you can just keep pushing through the flaws or the setbacks.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to have those things, you know, at arm's length to keep you grounded, because the world is not easy. It's no one said it was. Whoever said it was lying. We know now. We're old enough to know now. It's not easy, and it's okay to lean on your infrastructure or your support systems, even if that means it's your wallpaper on your screen phone or the bucket of wins in your notebook. Have those things available to you, you know.
Sure. No, that's powerful. So most of the guests that come here, well, all, when I start the conversation with them, I always say to them, I don't want to focus on what you do, but I want to focus on who you are, because this is a femininity podcast
Space.
after all.
Yeah.
And I want you to be in a space of being more than in the space of doing, you know, because that functional femininity, you need it.
Yeah.
Yes, because times are tough. The economy is not, you know, stable.
Yeah.
So you need to be functional.
We've got to take care of ourselves first.
You have to take care of yourselves. But I always ask them, and I'm going to ask you now, what phase of your life are you in right now? Because I like profiling the phases and the faces of different women to show young women, young girls, that femininity comes in different forms and different ways. It's not a cookie cutter approach, right? Where that's what we are fed on social media. For instance, from a African girl perspective, you would see weave, lashes, nails, designer bags or designer clothes, you know, and you think, oh, so if I'm wanting to be feminine, that's the list that I need, right? This is the tick box that I need. If I have these, then I'm good. If you look at, for instance, let's say the first world perspective of a feminine girl, it would be, and I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it, lip filler and, you know, lip filler, Botox, and all these other things, Pilates, matcha. And you think if you're not in that space, then you're not feminine. But femininity comes in so many different ways and in phases as well. And I remember when I asked you, Zoe, can you can you come as a guest? I said one thing to you, and I said, it's because I've seen how you exude femininity from how you speak to people in such a calm and welcoming voice, you know, to how you, for instance, are, like, you could be dressed casually, like wearing jeans and, you
sneakers.
know, and sneakers.
I have a lot of those.
But your energy is just, it exudes that I'm a girl and I love being a girl.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Good to know. Thank you.
So, one, can you tell us what phase are you in your life? Yesterday, I had a conversation and someone said to me, Bongi, I'm actually in the phase where I'm still. I'm just in my stillness, you know. I'm maintaining consistency in the things that I've started, and that's my still phase.
Oh, I love that for her.
Right? So it can be different for everyone. You might be in a phase where you're like, I'm pushing, Bongi. I need to get that money because I want to retire myself quite early and focus on my passion projects. You know, it could be different. I'm
definitely in a fruitful phase. The fruits of my labor are starting to multiply.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful time. It's a comfortable time. It's a hardworking time. And I often need to do a lot of intentional things to keep that femininity that you're talking about. And it's interesting that you talk about perhaps the Western perspective, because what you mentioned there with the lip filler and the Pilates, those are all outward appearances. You may appear to be feminine, but do you move with femininity? Do you engage with people with femininity? Because there are girls going to, actually most girls who go to Pilates I think are quite feminine, because Pilates is an interesting thing. I do it myself as well. It's an exercise that's actually lengthening. It's a lengthening type of exercise, it lengthens the muscle as opposed to doing weights where you're actually bulking the muscle.
Yes.
And lengthening is actually a feminine movement, I would say, or a feminine form, because it's long, you know, and femininity is supposed to be slow and long and considered and thought through. And I think that's why Pilates feeds so well into femininity, because it's a lengthening process. It's a long process. It's similar to ballet. Ballet is also slow movement. It allows women to slow down. And so using different techniques that allow women to tap into their femininity is a lot of the work that I have to do to sustain, you know, the Zoe you met at the seminars and still know versus the Zoe that, you know, I'm in a revenue role. It's a very masculine role that I'm in, because you're chasing numbers, you're chasing money, you have to be fast, you have to move quickly on everything. And fast is the opposite of feminine. Feminine is slow.
Yes.
So there's a lot of my work that is, you know, opposite to what femininity is. And I have to really go the extra mile to tap into my femininity and make sure that that's still there. But to go back to your question, the phase of my life that I'm in is certainly fruitful, because I've worked hard with the MBA. That's culminated now. I've been in the tech industry for 6.5 years. There's a sense of understanding that. That's culminating for me now. And then, of course, the age that I'm in, that we're in, we know ourselves so much better now. We're more comfortable with ourselves. We don't sweat the small stuff anymore. So all of that is now culminating and coming together, which is really creating an environment of thriving for me. And it's incredibly fruitful. You know, if I want to go out there and buy myself a Bottega bag, I can do it, no problem. I don't have to double check with anyone or think about it 3-4 times. It's a beautiful phase, and now I'm trying to navigate what that looks like for me in terms of how I relate to, you know, my partner, my family, my work, my friends. But I'm so glad to be here. It's a phase that I'm very glad to finally get to, because it's a great phase of knowing yourself, knowing your value, knowing your worth, knowing how hard you worked to get there. You were there.
Yes.
You were the one who got yourself here. So you know that about yourself. And to be there finally it's a fruitful feeling.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm taking all these nuggets from the guests that I speak to, and I have a very wholesome circle of friends that I meet at different places and in different phases of my life as well. And I am forever grateful for Yali, because I just met a sisterhood of incredible people. And when I think of it, I'm like, actually, all of them are doing amazing stuff in their own industries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are people who will be like, why? Let me brush your hair. Where's your brush? You know, come here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And I wish that every woman and young girl finds that sort of circle of friends around them.
It's so true. I want to tell a story about that. In our last seminar, we had to do a play, and you had a great character in that play, by the way, which you played exceptionally well. You were amazing. Do you remember?
I'm thinking, character. What character?
Yes, you had an exceptional role, and I loved how you protected yourself around that role. But to your point, your co-star, our friend Evodia, she had the lead role, so to speak.
Yes.
And I actually we had not even figured out the play when we arrived at the seminar, but I just went and packed wigs and all this stuff, just in case.
The props.
Yeah, I just packed props, and I packed a blonde wig for Evodia, and she came to my room, and we fitted the wig on, and I even braided the wig for her. So we had a moment, I mean, to your point, we had a moment where she was sitting in the chair and I was braiding her hair, you know, and it's such a moment that it's a young girl moment, but it's also, to your point, a sisterhood moment that can be tapped into at any point in your life, and it shouldn't be lost at all just because things get more serious, just because we have kids and we have jobs and all these responsibilities. Yali gave us an opportunity to tap into that, and that's what makes it so special.
Definitely. We're going to move into the MBA, right? Because it's a step, I think, and I usually do not I always give it the props it needs because
Yeah.
I think not a lot of people know what that program requires.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wants your soul at some point. But
Literally. Literally.
right.
Literally.
And you did it in the UK.
Yes.
So, like, I can't imagine, the environment that you had to be in,
Yeah.
the people that you had to engage with in classes and syndicate teams and all of those things.
Yeah.
But more so from the young Zoe, so from your undergrad in psychology, up the ranks and just studying honors all the way until your master's, right? There's something that happens inside of you as you gain this knowledge that puts you in a position where your flaws come up a bit higher. So what you would have allowed previously, as a matriculant, you're like, now that I know better,
Yeah.
I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
So your flow goes up as well. And I see that a lot, especially with people that engage with C-suite, for instance. You do not allow yourself to not know something anymore.
Yeah.
That's a flaw for you. It's
Yeah.
like, I didn't know that current affair.
Yeah.
That's a flaw. I need to now make sure that I have my current affairs on point. And so you'll go through the steps of making sure that you are subscribed to the right platforms that give you the correct information as it happens, things like that. So as your standards go up, your flow also goes up. I want us to talk about that. How has education helped you in that process of Zoe saying, actually, my worst day now is not that I didn't sleep enough hours. Previously, maybe that was a flaw for you, right?
Yeah.
I know for me, before I did my MBA, it was a flaw. So I feel like I need to be in bed by 9 o'clock, like proper, or 8, because the next day I'm just grumpy. After the MBA, I was comfortable going to bed at 1 because I knew that tomorrow, exactly, it's just part of normal life. And tomorrow I would wake up and I'd be performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question, and we kind of structured it differently. So I'm trying to think about how I want to answer this because now I have new answers.
Oh, okay.
But I think being part of a global program and being part of a global company, there are certain things that you become a little bit more comfortable with. And before arriving at Meta, I only had local South African experience when it came to my work. And not knowing something felt for me like a big deal in a meeting. Like if I didn't know it, if I wasn't prepped, if a question came that I couldn't answer, it would give me anxiety. When I started at Meta, obviously a lot of American colleagues dialed into a lot of calls to the US at 7 p.m. at night, 6:30 p.m. at night. And there were a lot of times when Americans, extremely qualified, been in, the industry for a couple of years, would just say in a meeting, that's a great question. I hadn't thought about that. Let me take that back and, maybe I'll put it up in a follow-up email.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, we're allowed to say that? I was a lot younger then, but I was like, oh, we're allowed to say, great question. Actually haven't thought about that. Let me take it back and think a little bit deeper and give you an answer and a follow-up. So packaging what you do and don't know in a professional way is, I think, what global experience gives you, is that it allows you to package it in a way that you're comfortable with, that gives the person on the other side a sense of comfort that you do know what you're doing, but they've just asked a great question that you haven't thought about, and that's also okay. Let me circle back and give that a little bit more thought and come back to you on that. So those were some interesting things. Dealing with different languages, accents, personalities, something that maybe some people wouldn't think about is how much you have to flex your listening skills because you have multiple accents on a call at the same time. Yes. And you can't keep asking in a 30-minute meeting for someone to repeat themselves. So developing a listening skill to the point where you're able to understand different accents, whether it's a Lebanese, a Russian, or a Yugoslavian accent, like you should be able to quickly pick up how this person speaks English, how that person speaks English, the nuances that they like to tap into. You do that, and this kind of happens through osmosis, or just by the way, because you spend so much time in your work environment, I mean, we work from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. So just it naturally ends up happening, but it becomes interesting when you reflect on it, when you think back on it, is that you start developing skills and tolerances for people and interactions and engagements that just up your level of interactivity so well that perhaps it comes across as grace to you when I see you at a seminar, and it comes across as something else to someone else, confidence to someone else. But it's just my exposure to the global network in my work environment, in my school environment, that allowed me to just up that level so quickly and so easily. So I can come across anyone from anywhere in the world and hold a meeting, not just a conversation, but hold a meeting with that person. Yeah. And so that's been a really interesting skill that I've developed in the process. I think in terms of a flaw, something that I'm not willing to accept, I wouldn't look at it that way. I'd look at it more so of like, what skills have I developed along the way? And I love that I've been able to develop such global skills in the process. Doing this MBA while working at Meta during a time when Meta was doing layoffs. So to give you some more context, Meta became $1 trillion company in 9 years. On average, it takes a company 20 years to do so. So to squash 20 years into 9 years is impeccable, but that means so much added pressure onto the folks that work there. And some of that pressure did include, layoffs and stuff like that. So to be a part of that period in Meta's history and also to be doing my MBA was a crazy time, to say the least. It was a crazy time, and I did make a few sacrifices, and I was worried about what that would end up doing, because the MBA is phenomenal and you want to be so present in that experience. One of those experiences is that you get to do, especially through this MBA, is that you get to do a module through another school.
Okay.
And so I got to study at Bocconi School of Management in Italy, in Milan, at some point through this MBA as well. But that meant that I had to manage my country director at Meta and be like, hey man, I'm going to Italy for a little while. Am I going to keep this job? I don't know, but I'm going. And like, this was the trade-off. This was the conversation that I was having in my head, is that I'm going to take on this experience, this life experience, but I may be sacrificing. It may have been a career-limiting move, like only my country director will be able to say. But you never know. Like, you have to do those gambles, and you have to really be able to ruthlessly prioritize in your mind what is important for your life and for your soul, and for what's going to make you grow internally versus what's happening in your career and at the company. And the circumstances at the company were very real, but I also understood my work very well at that point, so I knew I could manage that and still perform. But these were the motions of being in an MBA, and I have to travel to the UK every quarter for school. So again, a lot of travel. Some people think it's exciting, but it takes you away from your work. You're in a plane, you're tired, you have to travel then to Warwick University, is all the way in Coventry. It's an hour outside of London. So all of that travel adds up eventually, So there's a lot of trade-offs, but it does teach you to move fast. It teaches you to be in 3 places at once. You're in South Africa, London, and Coventry in a couple of hours. So it teaches you to be incredibly quick when it matters, and you decide when it matters, of course. But I think, it gives you so many skill sets just outside of the network and outside of the content of the modules itself. It gives you so many skill sets. I don't even know if I've answered your question, but
you have.
And
the nice thing about it is you've mentioned some parts about it that speak to femininity a lot. Like, for instance, training your ear to listen. As a feminine, you are listening more than you are talking. Right? Because the bravado and the talking and the what do you call it? Like when someone is boasting.
Performance
comes from the masculine. The feminine is actually the listener.
Absolutely.
And I always say this to people that I coach, that the feminine influence is so powerful.
Yeah.
when you listen and you hear what people are actually saying and what
Yeah.
they're not saying,
Yeah.
it takes training your ear. And that's
Yeah.
what you've come to understand.
Yeah.
And that's what you've said, that
Yeah.
you had to listen to the different accents, also know the different nuances and how they speak. That takes skill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also had a great mentor, by the way, and shout out to Nunu Chingila. She was the country director of Sub-Saharan Africa at Meta at the time that I was there, and she emulated leading with grace, honestly, and to be in such close proximity to her at the time, I was learning firsthand what feminine leadership looks like, and her being able to hold the room the entire time without speaking, and only speaking at the end, being the last person to speak. And even the way she would consolidate everyone's inputs and say, I've heard what you said, I've heard what you said, I've heard what you said. My perspective is this, my perspective is that. But with such calm and grace, and not needing to perform, it was such a pleasure to be around, and certainly the type of kind of character I would like to perform if I must in a boardroom. I really think of her a lot in those times. So shout out to Nunu.
Wow, Nunu. Sure.
But that's definitely a mentor in that time. Yeah,
I might need her as a guest. We need as a follow up to this one, because when you speak about leading with grace, it's something that a lot of young girls don't hear much. We see a lot of reality TV shows on television right now, and the parts that are emphasized where women are they're shouting, screaming, fighting, and you're thinking, these women are so gorgeous.
Yeah.
How could they act like this?
Yeah.
But that's the message that's being pumped out right now to young girls. And you find that a young girl, instead of expressing, for instance, or a woman, instead of expressing her concerns and maybe something she's not happy about in a gracious manner, they actually perform. Yeah. And it's throwing books and plates and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if you were actually graceful in explaining how this thing makes you feel, you could probably get an outcome rather than the one that you'll get after throwing the plates.
And to my earlier point, it also requires mentorship and role models and leadership, which we don't have enough of. We have, of course, in South Africa, but we don't have enough of or hear from them enough. Or surround ourselves with them enough. I think there's this saying, it really speaks to food, but I think it speaks to content as well. And the saying is, you are what you consume, or you are what you eat, you are what you consume. Yeah. And the same goes with content and media. You are what you consume. And if people are watching reality shows, if that's all they're watching, of course they're going to start behaving that way.
Yes.
But if they're watching content, made of graceful women, if they're watching... Unfortunately, Nunu is a very private person. I'm speaking too much about her now, but she's very private, so you're not going to see much of her. But if you start watching people and surrounding yourself with mentors who emulate what you're trying to do, who emulate that femininity, it rubs off on you eventually, and you do become that to some degree if you do it with intention.
Very true.
But if you're consuming, you also have to double check who it is that you're consuming. What is their background? Were they raised by two parents who are loving to each other and are still together and have been together for 50 years? Or were they raised by a single parent? Or were they raised by a parent who was taking drugs? Like, these things all influence the person you're seeing on TV today. Are you sure that's the person you want to emulate when you walk around in your life and when you engage with people? So you need to double check. I think my exposure to the US, having gone there so often through work, it's so different to South Africa, and yet we have so much of their content living in our country, but with such different nations. I went to the US for a conference called Black Hat, and Black Hat is a resource group and a community in these companies, and they usually come together maybe once a year, not so much anymore after COVID, but they come together to kind of celebrate the community. And when being in the US and going to this conference, I was actually sitting next to my country director at the time, and our interpretation of what was being said was so different to African Americans and people of color there. So people of color at this conference were talking about being marginalized, experiencing microaggressions, being discriminated against. And that does happen here in South Africa as people of color. You know, we have companies that are led by people of other colors, and there's a lot of racism that people still experience. However, I was at the time in a space and in an office where it was led by Black people and built by Black people, and that was, you know, the leadership there.
Yeah.
And so the experience was so different. So I was not being marginalized. I was not being discriminated against. I was not being microaggressioned against. And so that made me think, okay, if I were to move to the US tomorrow, how would I show up? Because they experience work very differently to how I experience work. And so I'm actually a completely different person to them as an African coming from Africa, going to the US. And we need to remember that. You don't have to switch your accent to an American accent when you're there. You don't have to be American when you're there just because you consume so much of their content. And trust me, you might even have had a more fruitful and wholesome upbringing here than you would have there. And yet you're following Americans and people on social media through these reality shows and adopting their behaviors when actually perhaps the behaviors you were taught at home are so much more significant in how you create and present yourself as a person.
Sure, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I say that a lot on the podcast, that I'm here to contextualize femininity because the advice that people are giving from the first world countries doesn't necessarily work in an emerging market.
Yeah.
It's completely different things.
Yeah.
And I always give this example of saying, for instance, someone in a first world country would find it bizarre to date a significantly older man, like 30 years older, right? And I mean, the content would say that dating a significantly older man who's not so good looking, he must be the pretty young thing, so that he can spend money on you and you live happily ever after, right? In Africa, the reality is young women at ages 13, 14 are being, I don't want to say sold off, but that's what happens, right? They are being, you'll meet an old man who is not even wealthy, but who has a farm or is working and can feed this child. And the mom will say, okay, now you need to get married to this old man. And when you listen to maybe some of the documentaries as well of these stories, the young girl, all she says is, I just wish I didn't have to leave school. I just wish I could, finish off my schooling and maybe become a doctor. But now because of the circumstances, which is poverty and financial instability and all these other things, they are okay with marrying an older man who has 10 other wives, for instance. So for Americans, it's glamorized that you can marry a man who's 30 years older than you so that he can look after you, can be a housewife. This side, it's like, you know what I mean?
So yeah, because that American would have at least finished their education.
Exactly. Yeah. And they would have opportunities to go to college for free or pay or be subsidized or something along those lines. Whereas this young girl, especially in other African countries, unlike South Africa, where there is no line of debt, it's everything is cash. Why are they going to get the cash? And in some economies, they're even using the US dollar, for instance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, let us contextualize femininity to suit the narrative that we are in.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically taking us back to the 1700s, 1500s.
Exactly.
In European times where young girls were marrying off for the wealth of their family or to put their family in a better situation.
Yes.
When girls were not getting educated at all.
Yes.
And it's like we're back there now and it's 2025, 2026.
Or you find, Zoe, that it's not even that case, right? It's somewhat a matter of saying, I just want an easy life. There is no easy life. Like, if you're going
there's no shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts. There's always trade-offs. There's always sacrifices that you're going to make.
Yeah.
For instance, if you are wanting to marry a very wealthy man, the sacrifice is that you might not be the person you want to be because you'll always have to be in the background and that person will need to shine. You know what I mean? Yeah. So those types of trade-offs, you can't come with your dreams into that relationship. You are there to be of service, for instance, to that man. And so these are the trade-offs you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And the first episode, we spoke about feminism and how it just got bad PR. But when you look at what we've just discussed, for instance, for a lady who's been taken back to the 17th century, whereas we're in the 21st. You know, feminism was for that young girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always, you need to contextualize things.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because you've traveled quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd like to hear your views since you've traveled so much. I mean, you've mentioned the one in America and somewhat what you learned from that. I just love how our South African, well, the women that I follow, right? The women that I look at and I'm like, oh, she's doing such great work.
Yeah.
For instance, your Nomzamo Mbata, Nozipho, Chabalala, for instance, you know, they travel all over as well. Even Tuso Bedu, you know, they stay there. Some of them actually stay in America, but they've embraced their Africanness so much.
Absolutely.
And I think it's because they understand that, I'm in a different place now, you know, where this is appreciated.
It is. It's grounding and it's differentiating. Yeah.
And it's differentiating.
Yeah.
I would like for you to give us how your floors have changed because of the traveling. Like you've been to Dubai, you know, and you probably saw all the gold that's there. You probably now, you smirk at gold because you've seen gold.
Yeah.
You know, someone could say, Zoe, Paris. You're like, yeah. But your standards are more refined because you've been out there, you know. How has that somewhat changed your flaws where you don't allow yourself anymore to say, I'm having a bad hair day, for instance. You're like, yeah, you know, something like that.
Yeah, I think one of them is definitely, you're quite right. In the UAE, there's no bad hair days. There's no bad hair days in the UAE. They show up impeccably well. They're always well dressed, and especially in the corporate, and I'm just talking about the corporate environment because through work, I mean, you fly in, you work, you fly out. But yeah, there is a sense of representing yourself, and you're not seen to be over the top or materialistic.
Yes.
You're just seen to have self-respect. So taking care of yourself and presenting, showing up, looking your best, wearing your best jewelry. I mean, I went to a conference in Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and I mean, this is the financial sector or financial industry, and I mean, there everyone was wearing very nice watches, very nice jewelry, and it's not to boast. It's not. It's literally just because that's what the industry is, and so that then creates a new flaw, right? Is that this is just how they operate, and wearing a Rolex to work is a normal thing. It's not a big deal. Let's just get on with business. But everyone just shows up, looking good, looking professional, and not loud. Very tasteful, very professional, very chic. And that's just how they roll. And they look impeccable and they take care of themselves. And that's just part of life. So self-respect, taking care of yourself and making sure you show up. I mean, it's not easy. Sometimes I defer to taking calls from home or meetings from home. Fortunately, we still have like a hybrid environment. And those are the days where, thank goodness, I can wear a really cool sweater instead of, a beautiful shirt, because that means, like, things are going to the dry cleaners. That means that there's just so many other things that need to happen for you to show up that way. So infrastructure becomes a really important thing, right? How do you set up your life in such a way that you are showing up, but you're doing so with ease, that it's not taking so much stress and time out of your life just to show up? So you need to think intentionally about how do you create an environment that actually enables you to be that person and to take those things on. And I don't, when I am in South Africa, I spend my time re-energizing myself and recovering from the intensity that I have when I travel for work. So you're not going to find me in a club. You're not going to find me at a random restaurant. You're not going to find, I'm going to be very intentional about how I spend my time and where I go. I'm going to go for a massage and be at a place where I can get the massage, have a leisurely time, and enjoy the environment around me, enjoy the space and the people, so that I'm feeling like I'm in recovery mode. So that's very important for me at this point in time, is who do I spend my time with, what do I surround myself with that allows me to recover in such a way that I can show up Monday to Friday again and perform optimally. So that's, I think, also where the other flaw is that I'm so particular and discerning about my time, where I spend it and who I spend it with. And to your point earlier, I'd much rather be informing myself about some new, some news or some world situation that I can then speak about in the places and spaces that I'm in, rather than to be out at a club until, you know, even 1 a.m. is not my vibe, because I need my rest, you know. And women actually take on more strain physically because of working than men do, because women don't have enough testosterone to handle stress. So stress actually helps you. I mean, testosterone actually helps you manage stress. And so women have to be very careful about how they manage their stress. And as much as I'm in a fruitful phase, I also need to be very realistic about the fact that I'm in a very demanding phase as well. My work is incredibly demanding. So and now that I'm done with my MBA, I split my time between work and recovering from work, work and recovering from work. But recovery can also look amazing. Recovery can be 2 extra days for the weekend in a city that you went to for work, you know. So if work takes you to Paris, spend 2 extra days, go out into the winelands there. So that for me is what my experience of life now is starting to look like, is optimizing my travel days, recovering when I'm back in South Africa, and being in spaces and surrounded by people who support, enable, and aid my recovery and, you know, my authentic self, I would say.
Yeah. You've just given us powerful points, like golden nuggets. You speak about making sure that whatever it is that you do, it doesn't add on. You know, you can do it with ease. I love that.
Yeah.
If you having to get the wig means you're gonna suffer for the rest of the month and not have food,
right,
girl,
right.
you know, side eyeing you,
right?
It has to come with ease, because even the maintenance of whatever you're getting is gonna cost you, as you're saying, dry cleaners, this, that. So do everything within and you use a nice word, like you said, within the integrity of what you can do, or something like that, right?
I don't remember what I said. Something probably,
you know,
infrastructure is that the word, yes.
And being true to that, to say, okay, these are the things that I have, these are the resources that are within my reach, let me use them appropriately. I like that. So if it takes you out of your ease, it's not for you, you know. And I also like the fact that you're speaking about testosterone. Most women don't know that. Eh? Most women don't. That we have small amounts of testosterone. And that's why by the end of the week, doing a 9 to 5, you feel like a bus ran you over. So you're doing gym. That time you're putting your body through immense workouts, right? Like incredible workouts. For instance, high rocks. And every day you're exercising, you're doing the I don't know what you do, jump up, down, burpees, you're running, you're skiing. Every day for 5 days. On top of that, you then go to work on a 9 to 5. On top of that, you come back home, you need to cook, and you are really messing your body up. And so when you feel exhausted, that your nervous system is like, girl, we are tired. That's when you find that even the smallest things that wouldn't necessarily trigger you, start triggering you.
Absolutely.
And you find that actually, I'm okay outside of, this thing is not that big for me to explode the way I'm exploding. But right now I'm exploding like this because my body is weary. Absolutely. And even the smallest threat feels like it's a life-threatening event. I love that. I love the rest part.
And I think, to your point, we're not talking about this enough. We're not articulating it enough as women, that's our experience, and perhaps we don't really have the space to do so. And so thank you for creating that space, because I don't even think women are having this conversation with their partners or with, you know, the men that they're spending so much of their time with. And this is important to understand, is that women working shows up differently to men working. We're not the same. We're not built the same. We're not made the same biologically, and so we react differently to our environments, naturally so. And so we're going to react differently to the work stresses that we're put under versus, you know, how perhaps our counterparts might react. And that then requires for us to, you know, put in structures that help us manage that. And what some of that structure is, for me, a massage, to your point as a flaw, a massage is not a treat for me. I don't see that as a treat.
Yeah, it's a flaw. Right?
That is a necessity.
It's a necessity.
It is a necessity for me. It's not a treat. I don't, me going to the Saxon for a treatment is no longer a treat for me. That is a must do, or else I'm not going to show up as my functional feminine self, or even as my functional self on Monday. So for me, a treatment is not a treat. It's a necessity to manage the stress that I go under. And I am happy to talk about that. And I think like some women maybe, and even some men may want us to feel like we need to push that under the carpet or not speak about it as much. But I'm happy to speak about the fact that stress impacts me. And I went and did my blood tests with a really great holistic, not even holistic, he's an integrated medicine doctor. Got the bloods, saw my cortisol. It's through the roof.
Oh, wow.
So the numbers are there.
Yes.
So what am I doing to make sure that doesn't show up physically, emotionally, and to your point that I don't blow up when I don't need to?
Yeah. Sure, incredible. I love that. We have to wrap up. This conversation can go on for 2 days. Proper.
Oh, I've shared too much. We started going into blood tests now. Now we're talking.
It's the space.
Now we're getting too deep. We're getting too deep.
Maybe just as a last question before we close off. So at the age that we're in, there's a lot of expectations that come externally, regarding relationships, regarding, you should be married by now, you should have kids, there's a lot of pressure coming out towards us from external masses or influencers. I am in a space where I know that a lot of women are going through that, where they don't know how to then stick to their standards or maintain them in the midst of all those pressures. Maybe the pressures coming from family. You go home over the Christmas season and they ask you, oh, where's your boyfriend? Like, why are you single? Are you sure you're not, And they start asking you weird questions and you're like, now I'm dreading going to that event, that family gathering because I'm going to get side-eyed or I'm going to be looked at like, I'm crazy or why am I delaying so much? Must be fast for you, things like that. How would you encourage a young woman that's going through that to say your standards matter and do not cave in because of the external pressure that you're getting, but more so in that space in your life, there will be flaws. You need to then be aware of them as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it starts with us here telling you, us telling you that it's okay. You're doing amazing, sweetie. But I think it also starts with knowing yourself. First, you have to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, then you are going to be vulnerable to any opinion and voice and thing that comes left, right, and center. So you really have to know who you are. And take the time to figure that out, Give yourself the time to figure out what that means, what that looks like. And then from that point, build out what the support system that supports that is. And when you figure out who you are, you know what your ideologies are. You know what your belief systems are. You know what your trade-offs are, what you're not willing to compromise on, what you are willing to compromise on. You know when you're going to settle down, when you're not going to settle down, because you've done the internal work. You know yourself that way. And okay, 32 is when I'm going to get married. Guys, don't tell me anything until that time. Or it's 40. I want to focus on this. I've already frozen my eggs. I'm waiting until 40. You've had the conversation with yourself. So you know with yourself what you've decided to do about your own life. When you know that, other voices become less harmful. Then you've got the infrastructure of your support system who agree with you. You've run this past them. If it's your therapist, if it's your mom, if it's a maven, and I have a maven who I won't mention because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but she is an incredible woman and author who doesn't even know me, but I know her. And I spend so much time with her content and her work and her material because it's in line with my ideologies and what I believe. And that reinforces my support system, reinforces what I believe about myself, and reinforces that I'm okay. So you need to surround yourself with things, and this is what I think I mentioned earlier, fortification, fortify yourself spiritually, physically, mentally, with things that are aligned with you and who you believe yourself to be and who you believe yourself to present. And when you do that, then you'll find that these external voices that sometimes come in, it's just noise that you can easily discern and not internalize. And I think that's the trick, right? Is how much of what we hear and how much of what people tell us do we actually internalize and take home and take within ourselves? Because I like to have the saying where it's like water off a duck's back. You know, someone can say something to me and it just splashes off. That's not for me. What is for me and what is not for me, you know? And the better you know yourself and the better you surround yourself with infrastructure and support system that will help reinforce who you know yourself to be, the harder it will be for those outside voices to actually impact you. Because if you let it come through and you internalize it, you could be man down for weeks. And then you've got an important job interview or an important date coming up and you're not showing up as your full self because that one voice in the back of your mind is still giving you anxiety, which is not fair to you. So you have to be so discerning about what you internalize and what you don't. Is this for me to hold on to take, to hold on to and fester over? No. It's not my business. What is my business is this, and this. What that person has to say about me or what that person has to, that person's opinion about my life is actually not my business. It's their own. They could even be projecting. We don't know. So you have to be so clear on what is your business, and what's your business is who you are as a person, what your dreams are, what your talents are, what your legacy is that you want to be, what impact you want to make in the world, and you just stay focused on that and make your decisions around that. It's not to say that we now need to be in denial about ourselves, and you said this earlier, is that we have to be very sober about the thoughts that we have about ourselves. So make sure you have people that are sounding boards for you, you know, if it's your parents, if it's a sister, brother, best friend, therapist, have those sounding boards. But ultimately, your relationship with self, your higher self, and, you know, if your spiritual God is going to be the North Star for you in terms of making sure you're grounded.
Sure. Those are lovely. This conversation could literally go on, but because of time.
Man. And I didn't even take my supplements I have these brain supplements. They're called nootropics.
Oh my goodness.
Girl, that's another topic.
And you're not going to remove your intelligence from the equation by saying you take supplements. We know very well you're intelligent, sorry. You don't need
these are
supplements.
all natural, by the way. It's like it's roots, it's like lion's mane.
Oh, okay.
It's mushrooms and roots and all these very organic things that just allow some good cognitive function.
Yeah. But it means that the conversation would have been bomb because already it's high and
that's
then you
what
take
I
the
think.
Supplements, then it's like,
I don't know. I have a dependency, guys. It's my roots.
But lion's mane works. I've heard a lot
lion's
about
mane,
it.
I like it. I like it.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining
thank you for
the conversation. It was pretty serious.
Some serious, some lighthearted,
you know,
some giggles in between.
Okay.
But thank you for having me.
You are... When I said Zoe must come, I knew that you're the right person to have the seat.
Thank you.
I have a small group of people who I know for a fact that, you know what, this one inspires me beyond. And you are one of those people. And I mean, the circle from Yali is very impressive. So, I was like,
thank you.
Yeah.
And so do you. You inspire me as well. And hearing how you're navigating your current, career has also been... It's been things that I've been reflecting on that's helped me in my career as well. So I'm so glad that we have our community and we can really help each other. And that, I can depend on you. I mean, you and I are running a separate work stream outside of Yali now, and I can depend on you. And that's such a beautiful thing to know, is that from what we've experienced and been through together, how I've heard you navigate your career and now how you navigate us as a community being Yali. With all of these things, I feel like I can actually, you're someone that I can depend on in the context of Yali, of course, but, that means that I just have such respect and admiration for you.
Oh, yeah. So weak. You're gonna make me blush.
Yeah.
Like I'm now. I'm like,
do.
okay.
I do.
Well, thank you so much for joining this episode. You will catch the next episode as well, where I have amazing guests who are both my friends and family as well. Do tune in into the next episode, which will be posted every Monday on YouTube. And that is it from me. Zoe, do you want to give your social media handles or?
Zoe Mabie, Mabie. It's
Okay.
as simple as that. Not on YouTube the way you are, but it is a Google product, so I'm supporting you on that one. I'll do a little short.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, you should have little short cuts downs as well.
Yeah.
So very happy to hear on YouTube.
Okay.
But yeah, Zoe Mabie, Instagram, LinkedIn. Don't come to my TikTok. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
There's
Okay.
nothing there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Zoe.
Yeah.
And then I'm on YouTube, obviously, Pretty Serious Conversations, and on TikTok as Grace Girly. You'll see all the podcasts, the shorts there as well. And obviously, I always mention that we have a book club where I curate femininity books for you. If you want to join it, please email the email address that's on the link and on the description, sorry. And then, yeah, we'll take the steps from there. Until next time, peace be with you and ciao, ciao.
Bye, guys.